The phone rang at 2:47 a.m. on March 12th, 2024. I know the exact time because I stared at my alarm clock for a full 30 seconds before reaching for my cell, watching the red numbers blur through sleep-crusted eyes. Unknown number. Portland area code. Nobody calls with good news at 2:47 inches the morning. Is this Rachel Brennan? The voice was female, professional, tired in that way that only comes from double shifts and fluorescent lighting. Yeah. Who is this? My name is Linda Kowalski. I'm a nurse at Mercy General Hospital in Portland, Oregon. Your sister Claire is in our ICU. She's been asking for you. I sat up so fast the room tilted. My apartment on Pine Street in Capitol Hill went silent except for the hum of my refrigerator 2 rooms away and the sound of my own breathing. My sister. The words felt strange in my mouth. I'm Rachel Brennan. I'm 28 years old. I work as a graphic designer at Microsoft. I have a decent apartment, good coffee, a life I built from absolute zero. And I haven't spoken to my sister in 5 years. Yes, Claire Brennan, age 25. You're listed as her emergency contact. That was impossible. The last time I saw Claire, she was 20 years old and looking our parents directly in the face while she told them I pushed her down the stairs at our childhood home in Portland. I can still see the living room, May 2019. The cream carpet, my mother's sharp intake of breath, my father's face going from confused to cold in under 3 seconds. Claire's hand on her arm, the bruises already forming, her eyes not quite meeting mine. She lied. And that lie cost me everything. Ma'am? Are you still there? Why is she asking for me? My voice came out flat. Why not our parents? Linda paused. I heard something beep in the background, the antiseptic sounds of a hospital at night. She's been saying your name for 3 hours. Just your name. Not your parents. Not anyone else. I stood up. My hands were shaking. What happened to her? Complications from a fall. She's stable right now, but she's asking for you specifically, Miss Brennan. She won't let us contact anyone else. The floor felt unsteady under my bare feet. My mind was racing through possibilities, none of them making sense. Claire chose them. She chose the money, the house in Laurelhurst, the family that believed her over me without a single question. My parents wrote me out of their will within a week. $1.2 million from my grandmother's estate, gone. 5 years of silence so complete I wasn't even sure my parents remembered they had 2 daughters. Why would Claire ask for me now? Is she going to die? I can't discuss her condition in detail over the phone. But she's in critical condition, and she's very insistent that we reach you. Linda's voice dropped lower, like she was turning away from something. There's something else. She's been clutching something in her left hand. A piece of paper. Your name is written on it. My throat went tight. Through my apartment window, Seattle was dark except for scattered lights and the distant glow of downtown. Portland was 3 hours south. 3 hours to the city I swore I'd never go back to the hospital room where my sister, the sister who destroyed my life, was dying and asking for me. Miss Brennan? I'm here. I was already moving toward my closet, pulling out jeans, a sweater. My body was operating on autopilot, while my brain tried to catch up. Tell her I'm coming. Thank you. I'll let her know. She's in ICU, 3rd floor. Just ask for. I know where the ICU is. I'd spent 2 weeks there when I was 19 and my grandmother was dying. The same grandmother whose money my parents used to erase me from their lives. I'll be there in 3 hours. I hung up before Linda could respond. My hands were still shaking as I pulled on my clothes, grabbed my keys, my wallet. My car was parked on the street below. A 2019 Honda Civic with 87,000 miles and a temperamental heater. I'd bought it with money I saved working retail after my family cut me off, back when I was sleeping on a friend's couch and pretending everything was fine. The drive to Portland took exactly 2 hours and 53 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on my dashboard the entire time, trying not to think about what I was doing. Interstate 5 South was empty at 3 in the morning. Just me and a handful of long-haul trucks and the kind of darkness that makes you feel like you're the only person left in the world. I thought about turning around 17 times. Every exit was a chance to go back to Seattle, back to my apartment and my job. And the life where I didn't have a sister who lied about me, didn't have parents who believed the worst of me without hesitation. But I kept driving. Because despite everything, despite 5 years of silence and anger and grief, I needed to know why. Why was Claire asking for me? What was on that piece of paper? Mercy General Hospital looked exactly the same as I remembered. 7 stories of concrete and glass on the east side of Portland, parking lot half empty, emergency entrance lit up like a stage. I parked in the visitor lot at 5:40 a.m. and sat in my car for 11 minutes before I could make myself get out. The automatic doors whooshed open. The smell hit me immediately. Antiseptic, floor cleaner, that specific scent of institutional coffee and fear. The lobby was mostly empty, except for a security guard behind a desk and a woman asleep in one of the plastic chairs, her head tilted at an angle that would hurt when she woke up. I found the elevators. Pressed 3. Watched the numbers light up as I rose toward the ICU, and whatever was waiting for me there. The 3rd floor was quieter than the lobby. Nurses moved between rooms with the efficient silence of people who had learned to work without disturbing the almost dead. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. My sneakers squeaked on the polished floor. "Can I help you?" A nurse looked up from a computer station. Not Linda. Someone younger, with tired eyes and purple scrubs. "I'm here to see Claire Brennan. I'm her sister." A nurse named Linda Kowalski called me. Recognition flickered across her face. "Rachel?" "Yeah." "Linda's on break. I'm Jenna. Claire's in room 347. She pointed down the hall. "She's been waiting for you." I followed her finger. Room 347 was at the end of the corridor, door half open, light spilling into the hallway. My feet felt heavy. Each step took effort, like I was walking through water. I stopped outside the door. Through the gap, I could see the edge of a hospital bed, the green line of a heart monitor, tubes and wires and machines. I could hear the rhythmic beep of equipment keeping someone alive. My hand touched the doorframe. The metal was cold under my palm. I hadn't seen Claire in 5 years. The last image I had of her was burned into my memory. Her at 20, standing in our parents' living room, arm bruised, face tear-stained, voice steady, as she told them I had pushed her in a fight about something I couldn't even remember anymore. I had tried to defend myself. I had failed. And within 3 days, I was packing my things and leaving the only home I had ever known with $847 in my bank account and nowhere to go. Now she was 25. Now she was dying. And she had asked for me. I pushed the door open. The room was small, crowded with medical equipment. Claire was in the bed, propped up at an angle, eyes closed. She looked wrong. Too thin. Her cheekbones sharp under pale skin. Her hair, blonde like mine, though she had dyed it darker the last time I saw her, was tangled against the pillow. An IV line ran into her left arm, but her right hand was clenched in a fist on top of the blanket. And even from the doorway, I could see the corner of white paper sticking out between her fingers. I stepped inside. The door swung shut behind me with a soft click. "Claire?" Her eyes opened. Blue like our mother's. Like mine. For a second, we just stared at each other across 5 years of silence and lies, and everything that had broken between us. Then her eyes filled with tears. Her hand opened slowly, revealing the folded paper. My name was written across it in shaky blue ink. Rachel, just that. My name in handwriting I recognized, even though I hadn't seen it in 5 years. I hadn't spoken to Claire since May 2019, the day she looked our parents in the eye and said I tried to kill her. Now she was dying, and according to Linda, she had been clutching something in her left hand. A folded piece of paper with my name written on it in shaky handwriting. The nurse said Claire wouldn't let anyone read it. Word count breakdown plan. Section 1 opening. Entry. 320 words. Section 2. Observing Claire. 360 words. Section 3 Parents arrive. 380 words. Section 4 Confrontation. 420 words. Section 5 Phone Discovery. Cliffhanger. 320 words. Total target. 1,800 words. The ICU smelled like bleach and fear. I stood outside room 347 for 11 minutes before I could make myself open the door. I know it was 11 minutes because I counted them on the wall clock across from the nurse's station. 4:07 a.m. became 4:18 a.m. while I stood there like a coward, one hand on the doorframe, the other gripping my car keys so hard the metal cut into my palm. Through the small window in the door, I could see the edge of the bed, the tangle of tubes and wires, the green glow of monitors. I could hear the steady beep of machinery keeping someone alive. My sister. The person who ruined my life. The person who was dying and had asked for me. I pushed the door open. The room was smaller than I expected. Medical equipment crowded every surface. The ventilator hissed in rhythm with Claire's breathing. The heart monitor showed 134 beats per minute. Too fast, the numbers jumping in jagged spikes across the screen. The fluorescent light above the bed made everything look washed out, colorless, like an overexposed photograph. Claire was barely recognizable. 5 years ago, she weighed 132 pounds. I know because she complained about it constantly, saying she needed to lose 10 pounds before her college graduation photos. Now she couldn't have weighed more than 89. Her collarbones jutted out like coat hangers under the hospital gown. Her arms were thin enough that I could see the IV lines snaking under translucent skin. Her face was hollow, cheeks sunken, eyes closed but moving rapidly beneath the lids like she was dreaming, or having nightmares. I took 3 steps into the room and stopped. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. Claire didn't just look sick. She looked like someone who had been sick for a long time. Like someone who had been dying slowly while I was 3 hours north in Seattle drinking overpriced coffee and pretending I didn't have a family anymore. The medical chart hung on a clipboard at the foot of her bed. I picked it up with shaking hands. Patient name Claire Marie Brennan. Age 25. Admitted March 11, 2024, at 9:33 p.m. Diagnosis acute liver failure. The words blurred together. Acute liver failure. Not injuries from a fall. Not broken bones or a concussion. Rachel. My name came out as barely a whisper. I looked up. Claire's eyes were open, fixed on my face with an intensity that made my chest tight. Her lips moved behind the ventilator tube. The heart monitor's beeping accelerated. I moved closer to the bed. Claire. I'm here. Linda called me. Her right hand lifted slightly off the blanket. The movement looked like it cost her everything. Her fingers uncurled and I saw the paper again, my name written in that shaky handwriting. But before I could take it, her hand moved past the paper and grabbed my wrist. Her grip was weak but desperate. I'm sorry. The words came out muffled, almost impossible to understand around the ventilator. They made me. What? I leaned closer. Who made you? Tears started running down her temples into her hair. Her fingers squeezed my wrist tighter. Rachel, I'm sorry they made me lie. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The door behind me slammed open. What the hell are you doing here? I turned. My father stood in the doorway. Robert Brennan, 56 years old, wearing the same leather jacket he'd worn to every family gathering I could remember. Behind him was my mother Susan, also 56, her face a mask of shock and anger. I hadn't seen them in 5 years. They looked exactly the same. Older maybe, more gray in their hair, but the same cold eyes, the same set to their jaws. She called me. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Claire asked for me. Get out. My father's voice was low and dangerous. He took a step into the room. Get out, right now. Robert. My mother put a hand on his arm, but she was staring at me with the same hostility. What are you doing here, Rachel? You have no right. I have every right. I looked back at Claire. She was watching the 3 of us with wide, terrified eyes, her hand still gripping my wrist. She asked the hospital to call me. She wanted me here. You're not family anymore. My father moved closer. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. You lost that right when you refused to apologize for what you did to your sister. I didn't do anything to her. The old anger flared hot in my chest. She lied. We both know she lied. Watch your mouth. My father was next to the bed now, close enough that I could smell his cologne, the same cologne he'd been wearing the day he told me to pack my things and leave. That's your sister lying there dying and you want to start this again. She asked for me. I held my ground even though every instinct told me to run. She specifically asked for me. Not you. Me. Why is that, Dad? Why would she ask for the person she claimed tried to kill her? Because she feels guilty. My mother's voice was sharp. She's dying, and she feels guilty for what happened between you two. She probably wants closure. But that doesn't mean you get to waltz back into our lives and upset her. Upset her? I looked at Claire. She was crying silently, tears streaming down her face, her hand still holding onto my wrist like I was the only solid thing in the world. Does she look upset that I'm here? Let go of your sister. My father reached for Claire's hand. Come on, Claire, honey, let go. You're confused. The medication is making you confused. No. Claire's voice was barely audible but firm. She shook her head slightly, wincing at the effort. No, Rachel stays. The heart monitor's beeping got faster. 156 BPM. An alarm started beeping somewhere behind the bed. Claire, you need to calm down. My mother moved to the other side of the bed. You're going to hurt yourself. Just let Rachel leave and we'll stay with you, okay? We'll stay right here. But Claire wasn't looking at them. She was looking at me. Her lips moved, forming words I couldn't hear. I leaned closer. Check phone. The words were barely a breath. Phone. Check it. I glanced at the bedside table. There was an iPhone there in a pink case. The screen was dark, but I could see the edge of it peeking out from under a box of tissues. That's enough. My father grabbed my shoulder and pulled me back from the bed. I'm calling security. You're upsetting her, and you need to leave now. She asked for me. I wrenched my shoulder out of his grip. She specifically requested me. The nurses told me. I have every right to be here. You have no rights. My mother's voice was shaking. You lost your rights when you hurt your sister 5 years ago. When you refused to take responsibility. When you walked away from this family without a backward glance. You threw me out. The words exploded out of me. You didn't even ask for my side of the story. You just believed her lie and threw me out like garbage. You wrote me out of Grandma's will. You told everyone I was dangerous. And now 5 years later, Claire is dying and asking for me, and you still can't admit you might have been wrong. We weren't wrong. My father pulled out his phone. I'm calling security right now. The heart monitor alarm was louder now. 178 BPM. A nurse rushed into the room. What's going on in here? She looked at the monitor, then at Claire, then at the three of us standing around the bed like boxers in a ring. Everyone needs to step back. You're stressing the patient. This woman needs to leave. My father pointed at me. She's not family. She's upsetting my daughter. The nurse looked at me. Are you Rachel? Yes. She's been asking for you all night. The nurse moved to Claire's side and adjusted something on the IV line. I was told you were coming. She's leaving. My father's face was red. Right now. Mr. Brennan, if you can't keep calm, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The nurse's voice was professional but firm. Claire specifically requested her sister. Multiple times. She has a right to see her. My mother made a sound like a wounded animal. She hasn't lived at home for 3 years. We barely see her. She calls us maybe once a month. And the first person she asks for when she's dying is the sister who tried to kill her. It doesn't make sense. Wait. I stared at my mother. She hasn't lived at home for 3 years. That's none of your business. My father stepped between us. What happens in this family stopped being your business 5 years ago. But Claire's hand was moving again, reaching not for me this time but for the bedside table. For the phone, her fingers stretched toward it, trembling with effort. The nurse noticed. Claire, honey, you need to rest. Don't try to move. But Claire kept reaching, her whole arm shaking, her eyes desperate and fixed on the phone. I understood. As security escorted me out, I palmed Claire's iPhone from the bedside table. My mother screamed that I was stealing from a dying girl. My father threatened to have me arrested. The security guard, a tired-looking man in his 40s, gripped my elbow and walked me firmly toward the elevator. Behind us, I could hear my mother's voice getting shriller. My father demanding they call the police, the nurse trying to calm everyone down. But Claire's fingers had pointed directly at that phone before her eyes rolled back. Whatever she needed to tell me was in there. The phone felt like it was burning a hole in my jacket pocket as the elevator doors closed. I just had to unlock it before my parents realized it was gone. Back in my Seattle apartment, Claire's phone felt like a bomb in my hands. The lock screen showed a photo I had never seen. Claire at age 19, face bruised, arm in a cast. She was looking directly at the camera with hollow eyes that made my stomach drop. It was 6:33 a.m. on March 12th when I finally made it home. The drive from Portland had been a blur. I kept expecting my phone to ring, expecting my father's voice threatening legal action for theft. But there was nothing. Just silence and the weight of Claire's iPhone 13 Pro in my jacket pocket. I sat on my couch in the pre-dawn darkness and stared at the lock screen. The bruises on Claire's face in that photo were dark purple, fresh. Her arm was in a bright blue cast. When had that happened? I would have been 23, living in Portland still, probably sleeping on my friend Melissa's couch after my parents kicked me out. How had I not known Claire was hurt? The passcode screen glowed at me, 6 empty circles waiting to be filled. I tried the obvious ones first. Claire's birthday, 0218. Invalid passcode. Our parents' anniversary, 1107. Invalid passcode. I had 3 more tries before the phone locked completely. I closed my eyes and thought, what would Claire use? What number mattered enough to her that she would use it to lock her most private information? Then it hit me. My birthday, May 12th. I typed 0512. The phone unlocked. The home screen was a mess of notifications. 47 missed calls from a contact saved as D. 32 unread text messages from Mom. 19 from Dad. But what caught my attention was the text thread at the top of the screen. The most recent message was from someone named Detective Marcus Dawson, sent at 8:47 p.m. on March 11th, less than an hour before Claire was admitted to the hospital. The message read, "Confirmed for tomorrow, 2 p.m. at the station. Bring everything. We'll get you protection." My hands started shaking. I opened the thread. The messages went back 2 years. March 2022. Claire reaching out to Portland PD about financial abuse. Detective Dawson responding, asking for documentation. Claire sending photos of bank statements, screenshots of threatening texts, voice memo recordings of arguments with our parents. 2 full years of evidence gathering while I had been living my life in Seattle completely unaware. I scrolled up, reading from the beginning. The first message from Claire was dated March 3rd, 2022. Claire, I need to report financial abuse and coercion. My parents have been stealing from me for 3 years. I have proof. Detective Dawson, can you come to the station to file a formal report? Claire, not yet. They'll know. They track my location. I need to be smart about this. I kept scrolling. Months of messages. Claire documenting every withdrawal from her account, every threat, every time our parents forced her to sign something. She had been building a case, methodically, carefully. And I had no idea. Then I found the other text threads, the ones from our parents. I opened the thread with Dad first. The most recent message was from March 11th at 6:19 p.m. Dad, where are you? Answer your phone. Before that, March 11th at 5:03 p.m. Dad, you're making a huge mistake. Think about what you're doing. I scrolled up. The messages got progressively more threatening the further back I went. June 2019, just weeks after I had been kicked out. Dad, you tell anyone the truth, you'll end up worse than Rachel. We own you. Don't forget that. May 2019, 2 days after the incident. Dad, you did the right thing. Rachel needed to go anyway. She was always ungrateful. You're the good daughter now. Act like it. My vision blurred. I had to put the phone down for a second and breathe. They had threatened her. From the very beginning, they had threatened her into lying. She had been 20 years old and terrified, and they had used that fear to destroy my life and control hers. I picked the phone back up and opened the thread with Mom. It was worse. Mom's messages were calculated, manipulative, less overtly threatening, but more insidious. August 2019. Your sister made her choices, Claire. She could have apologized. She could have tried to make amends. Instead, she chose pride over family. You chose family. That's why you still have us. November 2020. I saw you deposited your paycheck into your personal account instead of the joint account. That's not how families work, sweetie. We manage your money because we love you. Transfer it by tonight, please. January 2022. Your father and I are very disappointed that you're questioning us. After everything we've done for you, after we chose you over Rachel, this is how you repay us? Every message was designed to make Claire feel guilty, to make her doubt herself, to keep her under their control. And it had worked for 5 years. I found the banking app on Claire's phone and opened it. Wells Fargo. Account number 4829773388844. I didn't know Claire's login, but the app was already signed in, probably with facial recognition. The account balance was $3,247. I checked the transaction history. My stomach turned. Withdrawals. Hundreds of them. Small amounts at first. 200 here, 200 here, 500 there, then larger. Wu 10. 5,000.10, 0000, $25,000. All authorized by Susan Brennan or Robert Brennan, joint account holders. I went back further. The account had been opened in June 2019 with a deposit of $850,000. Claire Emma's trust fund from our grandmother. By August 2019, the balance was down to $850,000. Claire. Trust fund from our grandmother. By August 2019, the balance was down to $720,000. By December 2020, it was $380,000. By March 2024, there was almost nothing left. $847,392, withdrawn over 5 years. Nearly every penny of Claire's inheritance, gone. Stolen by our parents while they convinced her it was for her own good, for the family, for keeping her safe. I found a folder in Claire's photos labeled Evidence. Inside were hundreds of screenshots, bank statements, text messages, emails from our parents' financial advisor showing transfers to accounts Claire didn't have access to. Photos of documents Claire had signed under duress, her signature shaky and uncertain next to our father's bold scrawl. There was a voice memo dated February 14, 2024. I pressed play. My father's voice filled my apartment. You're being selfish, Claire. This money isn't just yours, it's family money. Your grandmother would want it used for the family. Claire's voice, small and defeated. But it's my money. The trust was in my name. You've taken almost all of it. We've invested it. For your future. You'll get it back when you're responsible enough. I'm 25 years old. When am I going to be responsible enough? When you stop questioning us. When you remember what we did for you. We could have believed Rachel. We could have thrown you out like the liar you really were. But we didn't. We chose you. You owe us. The recording ended. I sat in the growing morning light and felt rage build in my chest like a living thing. They had gaslit her for 5 years, stolen from her, threatened her, and all while making her feel like she owed them for destroying my life. I went back to the text thread with Detective Dawson. The messages from March 11th painted a clear picture. Claire, 2:37 p.m. I'm doing it. I'm meeting with you tomorrow. I don't care what they do to me anymore. Detective Dawson, 2:45 p.m. Good. We have enough evidence to start an investigation. Bring the original documents if you can access them safely. Claire, 4:15 p.m. I told them I'm coming forward. I told them I'm going to the police and telling Rachel everything. Detective Dawson, 4:18 p.m. Claire, that wasn't smart. Do you have somewhere safe you can go tonight? Claire, 4:22 p.m. I'm at their house. I needed to get some documents from Dad's office. They came home early. Detective Dawson, 6:33 p.m. Claire, answer your phone. Are you safe? Detective Dawson, 7:52 p.m. Mercy General called me. I'm on my way. Don't talk to anyone until I get there. The timeline was clear. Claire had confronted them. She had told them she was going to the police. and less than 3 hours later, she was in the ICU with acute liver failure from what the hospital called complications from a fall. I found the video file in Claire's photos, dated May 17, 2019, 2 days after the incident that ended my life as I knew it. The file was labeled The Real Story. My finger hovered over the play button. Part of me didn't want to watch it. Part of me wanted to throw the phone across the room and pretend I had never seen any of this. But Claire had kept this video for 5 years. She had made sure I would find it. I owed it to her to watch. I clicked play. Claire's 20-year-old face filled the screen, eyes swollen from crying. She was sitting on her bed in her college apartment, the same purple comforter I remembered from when I helped her move in freshman year. Her arm was bandaged. Her face was blotchy and raw. My name is Claire Brennan. On May 15, 2019, I lied and said my sister Rachel pushed me down the stairs. The truth is, I fell while drunk. But Dad said if I didn't blame Rachel, he would make sure I never saw a penny of Grandma's trust fund. Rachel, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. And Mom and Dad, you're about to lose everything. Word count breakdown plan. Section 1. Detective meeting. Opening. 340 words. Section 2. Hospital return. Discovery. 360 words. Section 3. Confrontation. Begins. 380 words. Section 4. Evidence revealed. Climax. 400 words. Section 5. Arrest. Claire wakes. Cliffhanger. 320 words. Total target. 1,800 words. Detective Dawson met me in the Mercy General parking lot at 9:47 a.m. He was younger than I expected, maybe early 40s, with gray starting at his temples and the kind of tired eyes that came from seeing too much. Badge number 7,834, Portland PD Financial Crimes Unit. He was leaning against an unmarked sedan, 2 uniformed officers standing nearby. "You're Rachel Brennan." It wasn't a question. I nodded and pulled Claire's phone from my pocket. "I have everything. Text messages, bank records, voice recordings, a video confession. My parents have been abusing her for 5 years. They stole almost $1 million from her trust fund. And I think my father put her in that hospital bed." Detective Dawson took the phone carefully, like it was evidence in a crime scene. Which I guess it was. "I know. Claire and I have been working together for 2 years. She was supposed to meet me yesterday at 2 p.m. to make her official statement. When she didn't show up, I knew something had gone wrong. My stomach dropped. You've known about this for 2 years?" Claire was terrified. "Your parents had convinced her that if she came forward, they'd destroy her completely. It took months just to get her to trust me enough to start gathering evidence." He looked at the phone screen, scrolling through messages with practiced efficiency. "We were building a case against your parents for financial elder abuse. Your grandmother's estate. Did you know she originally left $3.2 million? I stared at him. "No. I was told it was $1.2 million. And that I was written out of the will after what happened with Claire." "You weren't written out. Your parents forged documents after your grandmother died in 2018. They embezzled $1.847 million before the estate was even settled. Split it between accounts at Chase Bank under various LLC names. We've been tracking the money for 8 months. The parking lot tilted. Everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. Every single thing. We need to go inside." Detective Dawson handed the phone to one of the officers. "Your parents signed paperwork at 8:22 this morning authorizing the hospital to remove Claire from life support. We have maybe an hour before they try to execute it." Terror shot through me. "They're trying to kill her. They're trying to silence her." He started walking toward the hospital entrance. "That's why we're going to stop them. Right now." We took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Detective Dawson had a body camera clipped to his jacket. I had my phone in my hand, recording app already open. The uniformed officers flanked us like a protective wall. When we reached the ICU, a nurse I didn't recognize tried to stop us. "I'm sorry, but visiting hours for ICU are restricted to immediate family only." Detective Dawson showed his badge. "We're here on official police business. Where is Claire Brennan's attending physician?" "That's Dr. Moss. She's in the conference room with the family discussing care options." The conference room was down the hall, door half open. I could hear my father's voice before I saw him. She's non-responsive. We've consulted with multiple specialists. The compassionate thing is to let her go peacefully. My mother's voice. Softer, but just as calculated. She wouldn't want to live like this. Claire always said she'd never want to be kept alive by machines. I pushed the door open. Detective Dawson and the officers followed. The room went silent. My parents sat on one side of a long conference table. Dr. Moss, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair, sat across from them with paperwork spread out in front of her. Everyone turned to stare at us. What is she doing here? My father stood up so fast his chair scraped across the floor. I told security to ban her from this hospital. Sit down, Mr. Brennan. Detective Dawson's voice was calm but authoritative. He moved into the room with the confidence of someone who held all the cards. Dr. Moss, I'm Detective Marcus Dawson with Portland PD. I need you to halt any decisions regarding Claire Brennan's care until we can discuss some new information. I don't understand. Dr. Moss looked confused but not hostile. The family has medical power of attorney. They have the right to make decisions about Claire's care. Actually, they don't. I stepped forward, my phone still recording. Claire is 25 years old. She's a legal adult. And 2 days ago she recorded a statement with Detective Dawson, specifically revoking any medical authority my parents might claim to have. That's a lie. My mother's face had gone pale. Claire would never do that. I pulled up the video on Claire's phone and set it on the conference table. Detective Dawson had already watched it in the parking lot. Now everyone else needed to see it. Claire's face appeared on the screen. This was a different video than the one from 2019. This one was dated March 10th, 2024. 2 days ago. She was sitting in what looked like a police station interview room, Detective Dawson visible in the background. My name is Claire Marie Brennan. I'm 25 years old and I'm of sound mind. I'm making this statement voluntarily. If anything happens to me, I want it on record that I revoke all medical power of attorney from Robert and Susan Brennan. I do not want them making any decisions about my health care. I want my sister Rachel Brennan to be contacted immediately. She's the only family I trust. The video continued. Claire detailed years of abuse, financial control, threats, physical violence. She lifted her shirt to show bruises across her ribs. She showed bank statements on camera, pointing out withdrawal after withdrawal that she never authorized. My mother made a sound like a wounded animal. That's not real. She's lying. She's always been dramatic, always exaggerating. The compassionate thing? I turned on my mother, rage bubbling up from somewhere deep and primal. You want to talk about compassion? You forced her to lie about me 5 years ago. You threatened a 20-year-old girl into destroying her sister's life so you could steal her inheritance. You've been beating her and stealing from her and gaslighting her for half a decade, and now you want to pull the plug before she can tell everyone the truth. You can't prove any of that. My father's face was red. You're making accusations based on a video that could have been edited, taken out of context. Actually, Mr. Brennan, we can prove it. Detective Dawson pulled out a tablet and set it on the table. We have security footage from this hospital showing you entering Claire's apartment building at 2847 Laurelhurst Drive at 6:47 p.m. on March 11th. Neighbors called 911 at 7:09 p.m. reporting screaming and sounds of a struggle from Claire's apartment. Paramedics arrived at 7:24 p.m. and found Claire unconscious with injuries consistent with blunt force trauma, not a fall. That's not what happened. My father's voice was shaking. She fell. She's always been clumsy. She has a liver laceration, 3 broken ribs, and a subdural hematoma. Dr. Moss spoke quietly, looking at my parents like she was seeing them for the first time. Those injuries are consistent with being struck repeatedly, not with a simple fall. You have no right to make these accusations. My mother stood up, grabbing her purse. We're leaving, and we're calling our lawyer. Sit down, Mrs. Brennan. Detective Dawson nodded to the uniformed officers. We also have evidence that you and your husband embezzled $1.847 million from your mother's estate in 2018. We have the forged documents. We have the falsified probate filings. We have the shell company bank accounts at Chase Bank where you've been hiding the money. And we have testimony from Claire detailing how you forced her to sign over her trust fund by threatening to do to her what you did to Rachel. My mother collapsed back into her chair. Robert and Susan Brennan, you're under arrest for financial elder abuse, embezzlement, forgery, assault, and attempted murder. The officers moved forward with handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. My father lunged toward me. This is your fault. You turned Claire against us. You poisoned her mind. An officer caught him, forcing his arms behind his back. The handcuffs clicked into place with a sound that felt like justice. My mother was crying, makeup running down her face in black streaks. We gave her everything. We kept her safe. We chose her over you. This is how she repays us? You didn't choose her. I was shaking, but my voice was steady. You used her. You turned her into a weapon against me, and then you bled her dry. And when she finally got brave enough to fight back, you tried to kill her. As officers handcuffed my father, something made me turn toward the door. A nurse was running down the hallway toward us. Claire's awake. She's asking for Rachel. We rushed to room 347. Claire's eyes were open, the ventilator tube removed. Her hand reached for mine across the hospital bed rail. The first time we had touched in 5 years. Her fingers were cold and weak, but they squeezed mine with intention. I'm sorry. Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm so sorry, Rachel. I know. Tears were streaming down my face. I know everything now. It's okay. You're safe now. Did they? She couldn't finish the sentence, but I understood. They're arrested. Both of them. Detective Dawson has everything. The video, the bank records, all of it. They can't hurt you anymore. Claire's eyes closed. The heart monitor showed 87 BPM, steady and strong. Thank you. Dr. Moss touched my shoulder gently. Can I speak with you outside? In the hallway, her face was grave. Claire's injuries are severe. The liver laceration is healing, but the head trauma caused significant damage. We're doing everything we can, but realistically, she has maybe 6 months. Possibly less. The floor dropped out from under me. 6 months. I'm sorry. I wish I had better news. I looked through the window at Claire. My sister, the person I had lost 5 years ago, the person I had just gotten back, and for the first time since 2019, I had my sister back. But the doctors said her injuries meant she had maybe 6 months to live. We had gotten justice, but we had run out of time. Claire moved into my Seattle apartment on March 29, 2024. She brought 1 suitcase, 17 medications, and a lifetime of apologies I told her she didn't owe me. I watched her struggle up the stairs to Unit 4B at 1847 Pine Street, one hand gripping the railing, the other clutching a brown prescription bag from Walgreens. She weighed maybe 95 pounds now, up 6 pounds from the hospital but still frighteningly thin. Every step looked like it cost her something. You don't have an elevator, she said when she finally reached my door. It wasn't a complaint, just an observation. She was breathing hard. 3rd floor walk-up. I unlocked the door. It keeps me in shape. The apartment was small. 1 bedroom that I'd given to Claire, a pull-out couch in the living room for me, a kitchen barely big enough for 2 people to stand in at once. But it had good light and it was mine. Ours now. Claire stood in the doorway looking around like she was memorizing everything. The bookshelf crammed with design books and novels. The plants on the windowsill that I somehow kept alive despite working 60-hour weeks. The framed print of the Seattle skyline I'd bought at Pike Place Market 3 years ago. It's perfect, she said quietly. Thank you for letting me stay. You're my sister. I took the suitcase from her hand. This is your home now, for as long as you need it. She started crying. Not the quiet tears from the hospital, but real sobs that shook her whole body. I held her carefully, aware of how fragile she felt, how easily she might break. We stood in my tiny apartment and cried together for the first time in 5 years. For everything we'd lost. For everything they'd stolen from us. For the time we didn't have left. The first week was hard. Claire slept 16 hours a day. When she was awake, she took pills on a schedule that required 3 different alarms, prednisone at 8 a.m., lactulose every 6 hours, pain medication as needed, which turned out to be constantly. I learned to cook low-sodium meals because her liver couldn't process salt anymore. I learned to watch for signs of hepatic encephalopathy, confusion or disorientation that meant toxins were building up in her blood. But we also talked. Really talked. Late at night when Claire couldn't sleep, we'd sit on my couch with mugs of herbal tea and fill in 5 years of blanks. She told me about college, how she'd dropped out after 2 years because our parents demanded it, said she needed to focus on family obligations, how she'd gotten a job at Nordstrom that our father made her quit because he didn't like her manager, how every friend she'd made had slowly disappeared because our parents controlled who she saw, where she went, who she talked to. I told her about Seattle, about sleeping on Melissa's couch for 8 months, about the studio apartment in Capitol Hill I could barely afford, working 3 jobs to make rent, about building a career at Microsoft from an entry-level contract position, proving to myself that I was worth something even if my family thought I wasn't. "Do you hate me?" Claire asked one night in April. It was 3 a.m., and she'd woken up from a nightmare. For what I did. For lying. I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I hate what happened. I hate that we lost 5 years. But you were a kid who was scared and manipulated. They're the ones I hate. The trial was set for May 2nd at Multnomah County Courthouse in Portland. The charges were extensive: elder fraud, embezzlement, assault, coercion, witness tampering. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Janet Reeves, told us the case was solid. Claire's testimony, the financial records, the video evidence, the hospital documentation. It was almost impossible to defend against. Our parents pleaded not guilty. Of course they did. Claire had to testify. We'd prepared for weeks, but nothing really prepared her for seeing them again. Robert and Susan sat at the defense table in expensive suits, looking like respectable people instead of the monsters they were. Our mother cried when Claire walked to the witness stand, actual tears streaming down her face like she was the victim. Claire's hand shook as she was sworn in. I sat in the gallery, close enough that she could see me, far enough that I couldn't interfere. Detective Dawson sat 2 rows behind me. Dr. Moss had come too. Professional duty or personal investment, I wasn't sure which. "Miss Brennan," the prosecutor began gently, "can you tell the court about your relationship with your parents?" Claire took a breath. "My father threatened me for 5 years. He said if I ever told the truth, he'd make sure Rachel suffered even more. I chose myself over my sister. That's something I'll die knowing I did." The courtroom was completely silent. She told everything. The night she fell down the stairs drunk, and our father saw an opportunity. The threats that followed. The years of financial abuse, forced signatures on documents she didn't understand, money disappearing from accounts she couldn't access. The beatings that started small, a slap here, a shove there, and escalated until March 11th when our father put her in the hospital. Our mother's lawyer tried to cross-examine, suggest Claire was exaggerating, that she was coached, that she was bitter about family disagreements. "Miss Brennan, isn't it true that your parents were simply trying to help you manage money you weren't mature enough to handle?" Claire looked at our mother. "My parents stole $847,392 from my trust fund over 5 years. They didn't help me manage it. They took it. And when I tried to stop them, my father beat me badly enough that I ended up in intensive care with a ruptured liver." The jury convicted both of them on all counts. It took 3 hours of deliberation. Robert got 12 years at Oregon State Penitentiary. Susan got 8. Neither of them looked at us when the sentences were read. They were led out in handcuffs, our mother still crying, our father's face a mask of rage. Outside the courthouse, Claire collapsed against me. "It's over," she whispered. "It's really over." The recovered funds totaled $1,247,881. The rest was gone, spent or hidden so well even forensic accountants couldn't find it. Claire and I split it evenly. More money than I'd ever imagined having. Blood money, Claire called it. But it was ours. "You were 20 years old and terrified," I told her that night. We were back in Seattle, sitting on my couch, the weight of the day finally settling on us. "I'm 28 and it took me 5 years to fight back. We both survived them. That's what matters. Claire's health got worse through the summer. The doctors at UWMC Transplant Center, led by Dr. Patel, a kind man with steady hands and realistic expectations, put her on the transplant list in June. She was high priority. Type O blood, MELD score of 28, young enough that she was a good candidate. But livers didn't appear on demand. I quit my job at Microsoft in July, used my savings and some of the recovered money to take care of us both. We spent 3 months doing everything we'd missed. Road trip to the Oregon coast, where we scattered flowers in the ocean for the grandmother whose money had caused so much pain. Late night movies, learning to cook together. Photo albums where we filled in the gaps, Claire's college years, my first apartment, the lives we'd lived separately. She got sicker. August brought jaundice, her skin turning yellow, her eyes the color of old paper. Ascites that made her abdomen swell. Confusion that came and went. Dr. Patel was honest. Without a transplant, she had maybe 2 months. On August 14th, 2024, at 2:33 a.m., my phone rang. This is UWMC Transplant Coordinator. We have a liver for Claire. You need to get here within 2 hours. I woke Claire as gently as I could. She was disoriented, the encephalopathy making her slow to process. But when she understood, her eyes cleared. We drove through Seattle's empty streets, the city asleep, the sky still dark. Claire squeezed my hand and said, "If I don't make it through surgery, you need to know. These last 5 months with you were worth everything I lost." I couldn't respond, because I knew she was right, and I knew I wasn't ready to lose her again. Claire's transplant surgery took 11 hours and 43 minutes. I wore a path in the waiting room floor, 2,847 steps according to my watch. The surgery started at 3:17 a.m. on August 14th, 2024, at UWMC's Swedish Medical Center Transplant Wing. The waiting room was painted a calming blue that didn't calm anything. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A coffee machine in the corner dripped endlessly into a pot that smelled burned. I was the only person there for the first 4 hours. Dr. Singh came out twice during the surgery to update me. Once at 7:45 a.m. to say they'd successfully removed Claire's damaged liver. Once at 11:20 a.m. to say the new liver was in place and they were closing. Both times his face was unreadable behind his surgical mask, his eyes tired but focused. I counted my steps because it was something to do besides think about everything that could go wrong. Rejection, bleeding, infection. The statistics Dr. Patel had given us. 62% chance of survival. 38% chance I'd be burying my sister before sunset. At 2 p.m., Dr. Singh came through the double doors one final time. He'd removed his surgical cap. His face was exhausted but smiling. "She's stable. Her body accepted the liver. Miss Brennan, your sister is going to live." I don't remember sitting down, but suddenly I was in one of the blue chairs, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Dr. Singh sat next to me and waited until I could speak. "Can I see her?" "She's in recovery. Give us 2 hours to make sure everything's stable, then you can sit with her." Claire was unconscious when they finally let me into her room. Tubes and monitors and machines, same as before, but different somehow. The heart monitor showed a strong, steady rhythm. The ventilator breathed for her, but the numbers looked good. Her skin was pale, but not the yellow it had been. Already, she looked more alive. I took her hand carefully, avoiding the IV lines. Her fingers were warm. "You made it," I whispered. "You're going to be okay." The recovery was slow. September 2024 brought daily hospital visits, medication schedules that required spreadsheets, physical therapy sessions, where Claire relearned how to walk more than a few steps without exhaustion. By October, she was well enough to leave the hospital, but not well enough to climb 3 flights of stairs to my apartment. I found a new place, 2-bedroom on Eastlake Avenue East, Unit 4821, ground floor with wheelchair access we didn't end up needing. Rent was $3,200 a month, but we could afford it now. The recovered money from our parents' convictions sat in a bank account neither of us quite knew how to process. Blood money. Stolen years converted to dollars and cents. Claire took the bedroom with the big window overlooking the street. I helped her arrange the furniture, the new bed we'd picked out together, the bookshelf she filled with novels she'd never had time to read when our parents controlled her life. "This is really mine?" she asked, standing in the doorway looking at the space. "Like, actually mine? They can't take it away?" "It's yours, paid for with your money, your name on the lease. Nobody can take it from you ever again," she cried. But they were good tears this time. November brought color back to Claire's face. December brought strength. By Christmas 2024, she could walk 2 miles without getting winded. Her hair grew back thicker. The bruises faded completely. Dr. Patel called her recovery remarkable. In January 2025, Claire enrolled at the University of Washington, communications major. She was 26 years old, starting college 6 years later than planned, but she didn't care. She'd sit at our kitchen table with her laptop and textbooks, studying for classes that actually interested her, choosing her own schedule, her own future. "I spent 5 years dying because I was too scared to tell the truth," she told me one night over dinner. Pasta with marinara sauce, something she could eat now that her liver functioned properly. "I'm spending the rest of my life living because you gave me the courage to fight." You gave yourself the courage. I was just the person who showed up. That's the whole point, though. You showed up. When I was dying in that hospital and everyone else wanted me to disappear quietly, you showed up. You drove 3 hours in the middle of the night. You stole my phone. You brought the detective. You didn't let them win. Neither did you. You kept evidence for 2 years. You recorded that video. You told the truth even when it was terrifying. We both survived them. That's what matters. I started the nonprofit in January 2025. Second Chance Sisters. Washington State Registration. EIN number 47 to 8 834921. I funded it with $500,000 from the recovered money. The mission was simple: help survivors of family abuse with legal fees, temporary housing, and resources to rebuild their lives. Claire designed the website. Her communications classes were already paying off. She interviewed survivors, wrote their stories with permission, created a resource database for lawyers and therapists and financial advisors who specialized in family trauma. We launched publicly in February. By March, we'd helped 47 families. People who'd been disowned, stolen from, gaslight, abused. People who thought they were alone. People who needed someone to show up. The media attention was unexpected. Local news picked up our story first, then regional. Then a podcast called Family Secrets asked to interview us. Claire said yes. I was hesitant, but she convinced me. Our story helps people, Rachel. It shows them they're not crazy, that abuse happens in families that look normal from the outside, that you can survive it and build something better. So we told it. All of it. The lie, the disownment, the hospital, the trial, the transplant, everything. The podcast episode went viral. We got messages from hundreds of people. Thousands. People sharing their own stories of family betrayal, thanking us for speaking up, asking for help. Second Chance Sisters grew faster than I'd planned. By summer 2025, we had a small office space in Capitol Hill, 3 part-time employees, and a waitlist of families needing support. In January 2025, a letter arrived at our apartment. Oregon State Penitentiary return address. My mother's handwriting on the envelope. I stared at it for 3 days before opening it. The letter was 4 pages long. Apologies, excuses, explanations that blamed everyone but herself. She said she'd found God in prison, that she understood now what she'd done wrong, that she hoped one day we could forgive her and rebuild our family. Claire read it over my shoulder. "Are you going to respond?" she asked. "No." "Good, me neither." We threw the letter away. We chose forward over backward. 1 year after the hospital call, March 12, 2025, Claire and I drove to Portland, not to see our parents, to visit our grandmother's grave. The cemetery was quiet, spring flowers blooming in patches across the green lawn. Our grandmother's headstone was simple: Margaret Ann Brennan, 1944 to 2018. Beloved mother and grandmother. Our parents had used her funeral to steal from her estate, had used her love to manipulate and control. But standing there with Claire, Healthy and alive and free, I thought about what our grandmother would have wanted, not the money, not the fighting, just for her granddaughters to be okay. We're okay, Grandma, Claire said softly. It took a while, but we're okay now. We left flowers, daisies, her favorite. Then we drove back to Seattle, to the life we'd built from the ruins they'd left behind. People ask if I forgive my parents. I tell them forgiveness isn't the point. The point is that they took 5 years from us, and we're taking the rest of our lives back. We learned that family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up when you're dying and refuses to let you go. My parents taught me what betrayal looks like. My sister taught me what love does. And the difference saved both our lives. Some stories don't have happy endings, but ours? We built our happy ending from the ruins they left behind. And that's the greatest victory of all.